You're listening to Factual America. John, and since you live there locally, then we had Hurricane Katrina. So
Yes, we did.
It's almost 15 years to the day, or about a month away from the anniversary. What was it like to live through that? What do you remember?
So I was going into sixth grade when it happened, and I remember, I was still pretty young, and so when you're that age, you don't exactly know what's going on, but it's still such a traumatic memory and such a vivid memory that I remember it. And so I just remember the big, small things to start. We were used to hurricanes here, and essentially for us in Baton Rouge, it felt like another hurricane. Like, it just felt like a bad hurricane. We have one every 2 or 3 years. There's some trees down, flooding, power's out, so we went through that. And it was kind of like, all right, let's start picking up the pieces. And my dad had a solar generator at the time. And so we had my whole family kind of gathered in the living room, and we had my grandparents who lived in New Orleans at the time, and a couple other people that were coming to stay at our house, which is kind of like a usual thing. When a hurricane hits, everyone kind of piles into the person's house who has a generator and air conditioning and stuff. And so I just remember we turned on the TV for like an hour or two every night, because that's all the, generator power we had. And we were all sitting around this TV and started, because initially, there was no social media, there was no very rough internet coverage, and there wasn't a lot of information coming out. And then I just remember slowly things started to turn, and it was like, okay, wait, New Orleans is taking a lot of water. And then I just remember, the whole mood shifted, especially with my parents. And I didn't quite, grasp the severity of the situation, but I just remember watching the news every night and, thinking how, like, I just remember this thought of like, there's just no way this city, like everyone's just going to have to move out, and they're going to have to bulldoze the whole city, because those images and seeing that, it's just like, there's no way anyone could come back from this. And it was just that feeling for days and days.
Yeah, I mean, those images I don't think any of us will forget any of those images
no.
coming out. But the one image I don't recall seeing, which you've got a lot of in the film, Jake, is certainly the park not literally underwater, but it's certainly standing in water. And then that takes us to where we are today, I think, Jake. I mean, so what's happened? Maybe you can bring us up to, so we're kind of showing the timeline here, just very traditional narrative, but Hurricane Katrina happens, and then that's pretty much it for the park, and that brings us to the current day, doesn't it?
Yeah, when Katrina was happening, nobody except the park employees, their minds weren't really on what the theme park was doing during that time. They had bigger fish to fry, obviously.
Yeah.
So once the helicopter images started coming out of the theme park underwater, it was staggering. And obviously, with that much salt water standing still about 7 feet surrounding the park for weeks on end, slowly draining, it's going to cause serious damage. And the rides, there's a whole scandal through the whole thing. We sort of touched on that in the movie, but to cut it short, Six Flags had inevitably decided that they didn't want to own the park anymore. They were going through their own financial difficulties, so they just said, you know what, fine, we'll take whatever's valuable and leave. And that's exactly what they did. They grabbed some roller coasters, literally, and left, and they just abandoned the property. The city bought it off them, sort of, and now it's the city's problem, and it's been like that since 2005. So now we have this abandoned theme park with most of the stuff still inside, the water line still from Katrina present everywhere inside the park, that's just stuck in time, and like I mentioned earlier, a monument of Katrina, one of the lasting scars of New Orleans, really.